Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Services and Aging Committee, Wednesday, April 4th. Can we have a roll call, please?
Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Hauser. Here. Ms. Baker. Here. Ms. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Is there anyone, Madam Clerk, public comment related to the agenda?
Yes, Ms. Hill.
Welcome.
Excuse me, ma'am, can you press the button? on-
Green button.
Oh, is that it? Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the correct thing here, and I just want to say, in terms of children at risk, I think that there needs to be more community oversight, and not in the ways of like these big nonprofit organizations, but there should be, for an at-risk child, there should be a trusted family member, a trusted person in the community that can have some kind of input and or oversight, because these children are continually falling through the cracks. And when I look at the model that is used for like agencies such as Jane Aetna, the model is beautiful if it's done appropriately. And so I don't know what exactly, why they're not using the model as prescribed. And I don't know what safeguards you all have in place, because it may not be any, seeing how these children are falling through the cracks. I'm asking that, if you change anything of the model, I think where there's the terms shall, there should be must, and funding should be appropriated where more licensed social workers are directly involved, and there should be some kind of mandate where there is consequences, because if you're in charge to handle something as fragile as a child who has already been neglected or abused, then that shouldn't be taken lightly. You shouldn't be able to, not fulfill your duties and it be okay. You get to retire and walk away, or you get a verbal reprimand and you're still there to live again, to do it again. There has to be some real changes in the way they maneuver if we're serious about keeping children safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill, for your comments. Approval of the minutes from the March 21st.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, we have one more person signed in.
And who is that?
Ms. Walker Brown.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am here on this agenda issue. I noticed that Murtis Taylor is getting close to not to exceed $1 million versus the Centers for Family and Children are not to exceed $425,000. Now, is there a reason why the adults are getting more money than the children, the families and the children centers are? Can y'all, is this where we get answers?
This is not where we have a back and forth dialogue. We hear from what your concerns are.
Okay.
I will ask that the Bob Math that is in the audience, he is also hearing those concerns, and maybe once he comes up to discuss the agenda item, he can answer some of those comments that you're making.
Okay, well, that's my main, far as staying on the agenda. That's my main concern, that big money difference, whereas we got adults getting close to $1 million, and then we got children and families only getting $425,000. So that's my main concern. I'll be back to talk about the children.
All right. Anyone else, Madam Clerk?
No, no one else has signed in.
And just for the newcomers and for the Hawthorne Youth Council that is in the audience, we do not we allow for public comment related to the agenda items, as well as at the end of the programs, we allow for public comment that is not related to specific things that is on the agenda. But we do not have a dialogue back and forth. In order to keep the proceedings going, we do listen to what people are saying and their concerns. And if there's someone that is here that cannot answer them in the audience, we will make sure that their concerns are answered from someone else. But we like to keep the proceedings going, or we would be here all day. So just wanted to give you that clarification. So matters referred to the committee. Madam Clerk, if you could read the first item into the record, please.
Madam Chair, we need to approve the minutes first.
Oh, sorry, I was on that. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for March? Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Minutes have been approved for the March 21st meeting. Now, can you read the first item into the record? Thank you.
Resolution number 2018-0063, making awards on requisition number 40883 to various providers for community-based services to support at-risk children and families in Cuyahoga County for the period 4/1/2018 to 3/31/2019.
Thank you. And Mr. Math is here to present.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Bob Math with the Office of Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. We're bringing forward this recommendation again to committee. This is a recommendation to award contracts to the 9 organizations that are listed on the agenda based upon an RFP that was issued back in the fall, back in September of 2017. These organizations will provide community-based family support services which address the needs of families that are currently involved in the child welfare system, families at risk of entering the child welfare system, and youth aging out of the foster care system. This whole model, this community-based model, as I shared with you once before, was emanated from a philosophy by the Ania Aikens Foundation, a national, a foundation that specializes in child welfare services, that called for a partnership between child welfare agencies and the communities where at-risk children and families live. It is acknowledged that the work of protecting children needed to be a group effort. Communities did not want their children removed, and the Division of Children and Family Services fundamentally believed that children belonged with their families as long as it was safe for them to do so. These organizations provide a wide range of services from case management, service coordination, emergency assistance, family visits, and independent living skills for youth that are aging out of foster care, the foster care system. And by providing all these services, we hope to meet the following objectives, which is to improve family functioning, strengthen family supports, reduce placement moves for children and youth, expedite reunification of families that are currently involved with Department of Children and Family Services, increase housing stability for newly rehoused families and youth aging out of the foster care system, increase enrollment into pre-kindergarten for eligible children, and increase independent living skills for those youth that are aging out of foster care. Just to give you some sense, in 2017, these neighborhood-based organizations served over 3,500 families during this past year. To address the several questions that Ms. Brown, I didn't get her name, raised, the dollar amounts that, all these organizations provide services to families and children. So the name Centers for Family and Children that's just the name of their organization. The difference in the dollar amounts for each organization, for an example, Murtis Taylor, and again, all these organizations provide the same services. to families and children, not just adults, it's to families and children. The $1 million that's allocated for Murtis Taylor represents, they run 3 different locations. Kathy Cherries runs 2 different locations, and the others have 1 location. So the dollar amount allocated is all fairly similar among all the organizations. So I just want to, clear that maybe that misunderstanding up,
As well as some of them will actually expand some of their services to further reach, correct?
Yes, we've asked them to, involve themselves more in family unification, family visits, and so we've asked all these organizations to do a little more, so some of them are increasing their staff capacity to serve more families as well.
Right, any questions from the committee? Councilwoman Baker.
Thank you, and this looks like something that is very much needed, and glad to see it before us. This has been an ongoing service. How many years have we been in this program?
Through the chair, Councilwoman Baker, they've been running these, what they used to call in the past, family collaboratives. Now we're making the name a little more intuitive in terms of community-based services. Some of the collaboratives we've been working with some of the collaboratives for somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 years now.
Wow.
Not all of them have been involved all those years. There, some organizations that we funded years ago are not being, never came back, and things changed. But the whole philosophy started about 20, 25 years ago.
May I follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Given the extended years, I'm sure there's some type of track record. Do you find, the results of intervention and how those have been served and have been able to regain their stability? Do you have any reports like that?
Well, I think that's, Jackie, do you have any of those? Do we have any of that data? I mean, that was one of the issues that we addressed. There wasn't in the contracts in the past. They were not outcome driven.
Okay.
I think, of course, these organizations do very credible work. There's no question about that.
Yes.
I think there have difficulty tracking the number of reunifications that were involved, the recidivism rate, and I think going forward, as I've shared with Chairwoman Conwell, that we've built performance measures into the contract, specific performance measures, and then we've developed the tools for them to track.
Good.
So I don't have really definitive, hard data that supports the work of these collaboratives over the past 20 years. I think it's been, in some respects, one of the shortcomings, if you will.
Yeah.
Jackie, I don't know if there's anything you can add. Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Jacqueline McCrae, Deputy Director with the Division of Children and Family Services. And pretty much what Mr. Math has spoken to you, I concur with. We have collected data over the years. It hasn't been as rigorous as we have it moving forward, but we do have some data available to support how many families have been served by the different neighborhood collaboratives over the years, and some other information that we can make available should the council desire that information.
If I may just follow up. So the new contracts that are, and this contract, continuing contract, you have then specific language that deals with outcome statistics and things. Is that
Yes, through
what
the
I'm
chair,
hearing?
yes.
So a year
Councilman
from now,
Baker.
when you come back, or as long till end of 2019, we should be able to ask this question and have
Yes.
something
In
more
the
concrete.
past, they primarily counted the number of families they served and the nature of the services. They really never it was never really measured that if families walk in the door today and after they receive these services, are they better off today than they were yesterday?
Right.
In the new contracts, we have performance measures, and we're using an assessment tool that families will be assessed when they walk in the door. There's like 18 domains, life domains, from employment to housing to physical health, medical issues. And what we're going to do, we're going to assess them when they walk in the door. Every 30 days, 60 days, we're going to see with the intervention of the service we provide, are they on this continuum, are they improving?
Right.
So we have 4 outcomes that across all the contracts, that these are outcomes that they have control over. I mean, they can't control the number of families where children are removed or reunified. That's a decision that Department of Children and Family Services makes. The outcomes we've put in the contracts are ones that they have full control over. Satisfaction of the services, and we have a satisfaction survey. Engagement, are they engaging these families immediately? Are they working with these families and youth to make sure they're self-sufficient? So when they after providing the service, are they now, do they have jobs? Do they have stable housing? And are they in safe and stable, safe and stable environments? So those are the outcomes that are driven, that are included in all the contracts. Some of the organizations indicated some other outcomes that they think they can achieve, so we'll hold them to those as well, and they're built into the contract. But we have 4 that are consistently going to be applied to all of them, and we're giving them tools to measure all those services, and so we can come back in 6 months or a year and say, geez, this is the money we've invested, these are how the families improved their family functioning.
If I may, I think that not only is it accountable for the money, but it also is just raising the bar, I think, for what the expectations are. And concretely, we can all see that we have in fact helped people. When we ask for more money, we can show the progress that we've made. We all know that you're certainly helping people, but to have it concretely done in this way will certainly help in the future.
Yeah, I think we need to move beyond this anecdotal stage that we can say that these families, when somebody says the program's doing great, we need to know, what does great mean? And I think this will help us define that.
Thank you.
And also, something that you didn't mention, Bob, is that many of these families are in transit. So when you look at the different dollar amounts, it is trying to be reflective of how the families are moving across the county as well. So I think that was looked at in some of the competitive bidding
Yes.
process as well. Mr. Hauser.
Just a quick question for the agencies that didn't receive funding. For the record, just tell me the process to assist those families find new resources, and has that process already begun?
Councilman Hauser, through the chair, that process has begun. There's a transition plan in place. Our number one priority is to make sure that all the families that had been served in the past will continue to be served now. So there's a transition plan. The organization, the other entities that will pick up those families have already been notified. They're working with these families. They're getting phone calls, correspondence to let them know that the services are going to continue. The faces who who will be serving them will look a little different. But that transition plan is, I think, as far as I know, it's complete.
Well underway.
It's well underway.
Mr. Miller.
Madam Chair, to Mr. Math, how is it decided what families are served? Is it open to anybody in the service area, or are there eligibility requirements based on financial resources, or what issues they're dealing with? How is that decided?
Councilman Miller, through the chair, I'll let Deputy Director McCray probably answer better than I can. The bottom line is there is no eligibility requirements. These are families that are being referred by Department of Children and Family Services because they think they're at risk, or families in the neighborhood that need some additional services can literally walk in the door and access services provided by these organizations.
That's correct. The services are available to anyone in the community who is involved with DCFS or at risk of becoming involved with DCFS. There's no income eligibility, and this is open to anyone in the community.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to follow up on the question about the outcomes. You outlined what the outcomes are, and I'd like to ask about what we at the Child Abuse Prevention Council would call the logic model, and which means what are the problems that you're trying to deal with, and what are the services that you're providing, and how do you believe that the particular set of services that you're providing will enable you to accomplish the outcomes that you have specified as your target outcomes?
Councilman Miller, through the chair, there are, in our model, we've identified outcomes, we've identified the indicators. How do we know that, what are we going to look at? We're going to look at the benchmarks, so 85% of the families that receive service are satisfied. And then how we're going to measure that. So we have this four very distinct components. They all, currently, they're using a tool that's evidence-based. It's called a comprehensive assessment matrix. It's got 18 domains in it. It's evidence-based. It's been used in other counties throughout the United States. I think it emanated from Arizona, and they looked at a number of tools. And there are 18 domains, and it's kind of like a Likert scale. So when they first come in, they're assessed. If they see that, the families are in a housing crisis, the organization need to work with that family and try to determine how do we move them out of that housing crisis. And then there's a Likert scale. So if they came in at a 1, which means they're in crisis, if we're providing services, housing referral services, or even assisting them financially with a rental subsidy, then we can move them along that Likert scale. So if they get to, say, a 3, I don't have the domain right in front of me. If they get to a 3, it means that they're in stable housing and they're eliminating the crisis. So there's 18 domains that range from housing, employment, mental health, physical health.
So Madam Chair, my focus is a little more on the second 2 outcome measures. The first 2, the satisfaction and the engagement, are more process oriented. The second 2 about reaching self-sufficiency and safe and stable environment are more pure outcome measures. And my question is, what are the services that we're providing through this program, and how do we believe that these services will help you achieve those goals?
You want?
Yeah.
Oh, go
Oh.
ahead.
Well, the services that are provided, some of the services are tailored to meet the individual needs of the families, and an assessment of their strengths and needs are done early on. So, for example, a family that may come to the attention of the Division of Children and Family Services, things that are addressed are those barriers that prevent that family from keeping that child safe in the home. So they may provide some linkages to other supports such as parenting. They may provide some linkages to housing. And all of those things are done with an outcome focus of helping, one, that family not penetrate any deeper into the Division of Children and Family Services. And by that, I mean continuing to have a case open with the division, or by having children come into the care and custody of the division. And another aspect of it deals with helping families to get the supports and things that they need in order to expedite reunification of their children back into the home. So while there are some consistent things that we look for, such as housing, such as linkages to other supports and services, and to some degree some provision of that directly, it varies with the families.
And final question, how large a portion of the families already have ongoing involvement with DCFS at the time that they come into the program?
At the time they come into the program, to some degree, it depends, because families can actually kind of self-refer themselves to the services of the community partners. When a family comes to our attention, information about the individual collaboratives is automatically given to them. And in fact, when consideration is being given to a child coming into our custody, they actually attend those decision-making meetings as a support to the family to assess, what they can provide in order, one, to prevent that child from coming into care, or two, to help expedite reunification.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the current contracts that are before us, I understand some of the providers have multiple locations. Can you identify those providers for us today and how many locations they have?
Through the chair, Councilwoman Brown, Catholic Charities has 2 locations. One's at Martin DePorres Family Center, which is in the Superior St. Clair neighborhood, and then Fatima Family Center. So those are the 2 sites for Catholic Charities. Murtis Taylor has 3 sites, one on their main office and their main site on around 130th and Union. The second one is in Garfield Heights on Turney Road, and the third one is on Terrace in East Cleveland.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Any other questions in terms of this? I just want to say that Mr. Math has ran a competitive bid process, and that was the concern of County Council. On one end, we want to protect and help families, but we also want to make sure that not just anyone is getting these contracts, that it is a competitive bid process. And outcomes are very important to all of County Council. So the performance-based measures are things, and outcome measures, these are things that we've been asking Mr. Math to put in place, so we can actually be able to have some data to show to the community, if asked, how these families are being benefited and helped along the way, not just at the initial need for a resource, but a continuation to make their families whole. So these are the things that we charge them to do. These are the things that they're bringing back to us in place. And I think pretty much everyone is happy with that. And it all goes back to each organization and agency has a specific responsibility to provide everything for the competitive bid process that the county has set in place. So it's a fair process. So if I can have a motion to, I know there are many agencies, some of these are larger agencies and some are very small, and they are in need of their funding, so we don't want to, we've done our due diligence, hopefully. We are working with the administration to try to get it a little further in advance, so we'll have plenty of time to really vet the things that come before us, and instead of just rubber stamping. We do have questions. We are here for a benefit to our constituents and checks and balance to the citizens of Cuyahoga County. So can I have a motion to move R2018-0063 to the full council?
So moved.
Is there a second? I will second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we come to the fun part. That was fun because we're serving families. I don't want to say that. We've passed on a very important piece of legislation for families that are in need that will be serviced to move forward and become whole. But now we have a presentation by the Hawthorne Valley Youth Council. And I ran into some of the members at a Teens with Purpose event on Saturday, February 24th in the evening, a program for other young females being recognized. And I met a few of these young members, and they were telling me about some of the things that they were going to do downstate to lend their voice. And so I said, well, you need to lend your voice at County Council. So without further ado, I'll bring up their leader, Miss Debra. She can introduce them.
Thank you. I just want to thank the County Council for inviting us to present here before you. These children, they're young adults. I will say they're young adults. They're between 7th and 12th grade. They don't look like me, but they're my kids. And at the end of the day, I give them back to their parents. I would like them all to come up so that they can be up here with me. Thank you. While they're coming up, my name is Debra Ladki. They call me Miss Deb. I serve as the Clerk of Council for the Village of Oakwood, and I also serve as the Administrator for the Hawthorne Valley Youth Council. I want to give you a little history of the Youth Council. Its inception began in 2010 when 2 of our council members brought back an idea and a vision to reach our youth for the purpose of making good leaders. Those 2 council members were Ms. Eloise Harden, who could not be here today, and Mr. Anthony Aikens, who is with us. He drove the bus, that's why he came in a little bit late. So he had to park that big thing. We researched and we found that there are youth councils that exist across the nation. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we got the information from them and we tweaked it. Actually, their first youth council tweaked it and they created their own bylaws. The bylaws have been tweaked a couple times since then to fit our goals. In the 8 years of its existence, the Youth Council has grown in its influence and in offering youth more opportunities for growth. We offer students the insight on how local government works through hands-on experience as they lead their own youth government. They follow Robert's Rules of Order, and they have meetings twice a month. Sometimes we have them every week because we are in a tight squeeze to get everything done. We offer them hands-on experience as far as their volunteerism, and some of the places that they volunteered are, they actually made their own event, the Oakwood Family Walkathon that they did a couple years. They also had a dance championship. That was my favorite. This is when Michael Jackson was really big, and he had different dances, and so we chose the dances along with the students, and we had a competition among students, and we had the community involved. Sam's Club exists in our community, and they donate TVs and the things that we needed, prizes, and it was really, really cool to watch the kids dance. And we had one that had a white glove and the hat. It was awesome. It was really fun. Some of the places they volunteer are the Bedford Heights Food Pantry, Oakwood Community Rain Garden and establishing that, Oakwood Secure On-Site Shred Days, visiting rehab centers and elderly nursing homes to help them with their suffering, to give them something to look forward to. Teens learn to give back, and they also earn community service hours while serving their community. In 2001, we joined our forces with the Ohio-West Virginia Youth Leadership Association, formerly known as YMCA. In teaming with YMCA, students learn how state government works by choosing to become a legislator, a Supreme Court justice, a lobbyist, a page, or a member of the media. We have some students who have chosen this year to be senators. We have 2 senators with us. Can you raise your hands, ladies? Here they are, and they'll speak in a few minutes. And all the other ones chose to be Supreme Court judges. It's an exciting program because when we do go downstate, which we'll be leaving tomorrow morning, arriving back on Saturday, the students take over the State House, literally. Sometimes they're senators or they sit in the House of Representatives, and they sit in the very seats that the state legislators sit in. And they will be in the committee rooms debating their bills that they've written. Those that are in the Supreme Court actually sit on the bench, and they wear the black robes, and they actually judge on cases that other students have written on, and they debate before the Supreme Court. Then they'll get their turn to be the attorneys representing their case, and they'll be able to present to the other students. The exciting part of this is those who write a bill, that bill can become state law. Actually, 300 state laws have been established, which began with students. Pretty impressive, like the white lines on the side of the road, students. Driver's education, students, and many, many more. They will meet hundreds of students from all over the state of Ohio while they're in Columbus. And if their bill passes in committee, it goes to the Senate floor, and they present on the Senate floor before the other students. If it passes on the Senate floor, it goes to the student governor or the youth governor. If he signs it, then it goes to the real legislators for their consideration. Pretty cool. I was excited to hear about the family services and that you're supporting the funding to support families and children throughout the county. One bill that was written about 2 years ago is still being hashed around at the state level. We called it the Age Out Bill. And a couple students wrote it where children who age out of the system can have an extra year of support in going to school and, housing. But in this bill that the kids wrote, they said if the student didn't show up for their work assignment, or, if they didn't abide by the rules, then they would be kicked out of the program. Okay. The objective for the Youth Council is for leaders and advisors to spark interest in these students, to observe and to hopefully participate in the political system, develop good citizenship in leadership and in character. We use a nonpartisan approach in reaching students. We teach them to follow their dreams and never give up on that dream. Some of our alumni have gone on to seek their dreams. Some not as politicians, but as physical therapists, communications majors, nurses, and medical personnel. We always tell them, follow your dream. Good citizenship is always a byproduct of the Youth Council. I would like to introduce the students behind me, and they are Christopher Edmonds Hall, Jr. Come on up. I'd like each one to introduce themselves, the grade they're in, the years they've been in Youth Council, what they've learned, and what they like about the Youth Council. Chris?
I'm Christopher Edmonds Hall. I'm in the 10th grade. It's my 4th year on the Youth Council. I've learned how the judicial system works here in Ohio, and what I like about Youth Council is we get to go down to Columbus and learn more.
Thank you, Chris. The next one I'll call upon is Cameron Jackson.
My name is Cameron Jackson. I'm in the 10th grade. This is my 2nd year in the Youth Council. I've learned what it's like to run a council. And what I like about Youth Council is that we get to volunteer in our community and help the elders and other people in need.
Thank you. How about Makayla Jones?
Hello, my name is Makayla Jones. This is my 1st year doing Hawthorne Valley Youth Council. I'm a 11th grader at Bedford High School. And besides learning more about how my government works within Ohio, I've also learned about the issues that happen within my community and other communities. And it's allowed me to reach out to those problems, whether how major or minor they are. And it's allowed me to have more empathy towards that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. How about Alexis Miller?
Hi, my name is Alexis Miller. I'm in 10th grade. This is my 2nd year in Youth Council. Throughout Youth Council, I've learned how to write a bill and create better arguments for myself to drive my bill further. What I like about Youth Council is that, what do I like? I like everything about Youth Council, but I especially like how we get involved in community affairs, and it's not just sitting in the council chambers. We're like in the community and doing multiple things to help other people.
Thank you. Ania Perry.
My name is Ania Perry. I am in the 9th grade at Firestone High School in Akron, Ohio. This is my 1st year on Youth Council. What I've learned in Hawthorne Valley Youth Council is that it is very important to be an active member in your community so that you can help others around you. And what I like about Youth Council is that it gives you direct exposure to your community because we volunteer out in shelters, food banks, and things like that. So, yeah.
Haley Thomas.
Hi, I'm Haley Thomas. I am in 10th grade, and this is my 1st year in Youth Council. I am interested in pursuing law, so being in this organization has opened my eyes to what it's kind of like to be in the government, and has also really helped me with my public speaking and allowed me to be in the community and see
what it's like.
Thank you. Let's see, Anthony Aikens Jr., otherwise known as AJ.
Hi, my name is Anthony Aikens, and I'm in the 8th grade. And wait, what was this? What was next? This is my second year in youth council, and what I've learned is how to be a judge and be an attorney, and practice being in the government down in Columbus. And what I like about youth council is that you get to do volunteer hours, and you get to help with the community, and you can also learn what it's like to be in a real government.
Ayana Aikens.
Hi, my name is Ayana Aikens. I'm in the 7th grade, and this is my first year in youth council. And I've learned like how to be a better public speaker and how our government works. And I just like learning more about our government. And what I like about youth council is getting to meet new people and being able to contribute to our community and make it a better place.
Sara Davidson. And Sara is our president this year.
Right.
Sorry. You're fine. I'm too short for this. That's okay. Hi, I'm Sara Davidson. I am a sophomore at Bedford High School, and this is my 3rd year in youth council. And let's see. What I've learned over the 3 years is sorry, I have to think about this for a minute. I'd say not only being able to be in and involved in my community, but also building relationships with the people that join the youth council and the people that we meet down at Columbus, to build relationships with them as well. And what I like about the youth council is that we're treated like an actual council. And we each have different roles. Like I'm president, Cameron's vice president. We have a treasurer, secretary, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like Mr. Aikens to say a couple words, if he would.
Hello, my name is Anthony Aikens. I'm a council member in Oakwood Village, Ohio, and one of the advisors for the Hawthorne Valley Youth Council. We've been with the program since its inception 8 years ago, and we've been very proud to just see the kids grow over these years. A lot of the kids, they came in sometimes shy, and we got to see them kind of break out of their shell and find their voice. And it's been just very great working with the youth, seeing their excitement and their fresh ideas when it comes to what can we do to help out others. So I commend these students, and I just look forward to another year.
And Mr. Atkins, what was the date that you guys formulated 8 years ago?
It was June of 2010.
Okay. So I just wanted to state that your council is just slightly a little older than our council.
Awesome. I wanted to give our senators, if I may, a couple minutes to share their bill and give them a little extra practice. I can hear them back here. They're, Miss Deb. I always put them on the spot. It helps them to overcome their fears.
So we're kind of seeing what they're going to present tomorrow downstate,
Yes.
and I wish I could go. I just really wish I could go and see it.
It is phenomenal. The students, they are students, and they are a typical teenager, and I've never told them this, but they get up in front of the other committee members, or in the Senate, the House, or in the Supreme Court, and they are little adults. They show up and they present their bills, and I cannot be more proud of each and every one of them. Like I said, as if they were my own. So I want to thank you.
So if we give them a couple minutes, I just wanted to let you youth know that we have two previous state legislators that are part of our council now. So I'd like them to tell you a little bit about their self and what they represented when they were there.
All right. I was Representative Nan Baker and represented the 16th Ohio House District, which was Westlake, Rocky River, North Olmsted, Fairview Park, and Bay Village. I was term limited after 8 years, but certainly was an experience I will never forget. Learned a lot, as you are getting a glimpse of tomorrow. But as you see those legislators, as I've witnessed here, very hardworking people, always wanting to do the right thing, have differing views, but find ways to find compromise and move forward for the betterment of everyone. So I was glad with that experience, glad to see you engaged. You don't see usually people of your age really understanding or even caring about government. So I'm glad to see that you're here and you're involved, and I look forward to hearing your bills.
I'm Dale Miller, and I served in the Ohio House from 1997 to 2005, and then in the Senate from 2005 to 2010, and could have run for one more term in the Senate, but I decided that the opportunity to help create a totally new government here at County Council was a unique opportunity that I was interested in. Since coming here, one thing that has occurred was that I was chosen to be the chairperson of the 4-county regional council on child abuse and neglect prevention, and I want everybody to know that April is Child Abuse Prevention Month in Ohio, and the statewide kickoff event is tomorrow at the State House atrium at 10:30 in the morning. I'm going to be at that event, so I might have some opportunity to see your youth council in action while I'm there. So that's exciting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And just one more, well, we're all important up here, but I did say that I wanted you, when I met you, young gentlemen and young ladies at the event, I stated that I was the chair of HHS, but I was not your representative for where you are located, and I wanted you to meet that representative. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to her, and maybe she will invite you back, and that is none other than my colleague, Chantelle Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just want to welcome you and tell you all how proud and encouraged and energized I am just for your participation today. It is a very positive thing that you're doing. Positive is an understatement. I mean, I had the privilege this morning of, while in my district, I went to Warrensville Heights High School and registered 17-year-old students to vote. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but if you are 17 years old and you will be 18 by November the 6th, you can vote in this primary that is taking place in a very short time. The election starts April 10th, and the actual last day to vote is May 8th, and that's a 30-day window that we get to vote. I think a lot of times we emphasize the actual election date, but I want to start planting seeds in your mind. When you come of age to vote, you don't have to wait until election day. You can cast your ballots early and make sure your voice is heard. So if you have friends or cousins or siblings that will be 18, or anyone that you know in your family, encourage them with the work that you're doing to make sure that they cast their ballot, because I want you all to remember this too. It is the one thing that we have that no matter how old, if you're over 18, if you are rich, if you're poor, if you're male, if you're female, from GED to PhD, it is the one thing that we all get to use to exercise our voice. And so we want to take full advantage of that as we come behind the heels of and standing on the shoulders of the great Dr. Martin Luther King, who was one of the greatest public servants. 50-year anniversary of his assassination, for that right to vote is one of the things that he died for. So I want to make sure you guys are encouraged. Continue the process. Don't shy away. You have excellent opportunities before you. And I will be, she said, you contacted me, I'll be looking for you guys, because we need future leaders. So you guys are the bench. You are the ones coming up behind us. And so we're going to be looking for you to lead us into the future. So thank you for your willingness to serve. And I'll turn it back over to the chairwoman. But please continue to be encouraged and stay engaged in the process. It is the most powerful. Your vote is one of the most powerful tools that you have to exercise your voice when you get it. And keep doing the work that you're doing right now. It's very impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will hear from our
Okay, this
sponsors
is-
of the bill.
Yes, this is the substance of their bill. It reads, a bill. Amend the establishment and submission of education goals with specific timetables by board. Be it enacted by the student legislature of the state of Ohio that Section 1, definitions. Real world means practical or actual experience as opposed to the abstract, theoretical, or ideology of the classroom. Community service means voluntary and unpaid work intended to help people in a particular area intended to be for social use. Section 2. In addition to the duties imposed on by law, the State Board of Education shall establish and submit to the Governor and the General Assembly a clear and measurable set of goals with specific timetables for their achievement. The goals shall be established for programs designed to accomplish Section 3301.0717D, mandatory real-world community service experience for all students in high school arena equivalent to 80 hours, and Section 3301.0717E, successful completion of 2-year career exploration programs at the high school level. Section 3, this bill shall go into effect within 180 days or the next subsequent school year. I'd like to introduce Senators Alexis Miller and Makayla Jones.
Okay, I'm Alexis Miller.
I'm Makayla Jones. Disclaimer, okay, please give us pointers if we need anything, you know. We want to make sure we give it our all when we go down there.
Okay, so pretty much we're not going to read our opening and closing statement. We're just going to read our arguments to you. Okay, so state tests do not measure a student's creativity, critical thinking, collaboration with others, or even leadership skills.
Testing also hinders a student's overall learning potential.
State testing only evaluates a student's proficiency based on a particular day that the test is given, opposed to the overall growth throughout the course of the year.
State testing also takes up and narrows a school's curriculum.
Federal funds are only given to schools that perform well on state tests, which could be deemed as unfair for low-income communities that may not be able to afford the proper tools to prepare for these said tests.
House Speaker Cliff Rosenberger has actually discussed with colleges such as Cleveland State University about offering college credits to people who do community service.
Replacing state test requirements with career exploration programs and community service will give a student real-world experiences, leaving us better equipped for life after high school.
Ohio's graduation rate is about 83%, whereas states that do not require state testing are particularly higher, as Kentucky with an 88% graduation rate, or West Virginia with staggering 89%. There are many people behind this bill, including our principal of our local high school, Samuel Vaughters, member of our school board, Phil Stevens, and the representative of the 11th District of the Ohio House of Representatives, Stephanie House.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Great job. Any questions?
I'm extremely proud. I think that the argument you presented was well thought out. It was very concise. It was clear and to the point. And so you have a bright future ahead of you. So I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
I'll make a comment as well, especially as the youngest member of the council. It's so encouraging to see you guys. I started right after high school, and just with hard work, I was able to work my way here. We also have a youth summit as well that we started last year. I'm going to get you guys my information. Would love for you guys to be a part of it this year. It's going to be September 14th at Tri-C, but I'm very encouraged to see you guys here before us today, and the argument sounded great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Miller.
I would also like to commend you for an excellent proposal, and it's just really great that you came up with an idea that would be good for everybody. So much of what we see in policy this day, it's to benefit this group at the expense of this other group, and there's winners and losers, and we just need more of this kind of thinking that's a win-win for everybody and is all around helpful. So keep going. That's a great direction.
Thank you.
And you can add my name as a supporter also.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else like to get on that?
Me too.
Right. Mike? The whole committee. And Ashley, our clerk over there, can give you all of our names to make sure that you know. So you'll have HHS, Health and Human Services Committee behind you. Each as elected officials. Nan, would you like to say anything to them?
Only that I, certainly am also proud to see that you understand the process. Having the bill written and having the passion to try to move it through is the beginning of the process, because now you need to convince all your other colleagues that this is the right bill. There may be some amendments that will be added to perhaps change it a bit so that you can get more votes to support your bill. But that process that you're going to be going through tomorrow will really be one that you'll learn the art of compromise, and you'll understand the differences of perhaps there'll be things that you didn't realize were part of your bill that may not be what you thought the intent would be. And so I encourage you to continue going through the process all the way to the end and really listen to perhaps other ideas that may influence you to make some changes or even enhance upon it to make it even better.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, on one point on Michael Hauser, are you 21? Because I'm stuck at 21. I don't know. He keeps saying he's the youngest on council here.
29.
Oh, okay. So I'm the youngest on council. Let's keep that clear. But on the other point, when I met Alexis and Michaela and the two gentlemen in the back at Teens with Purpose event, and they were sharing all this with me, and I was just like, wowed. And I was like, well, you got to come down. But I agreed with your premise that state testing skews individuals, and it leaves so many children out. So I really liked, what you had presented to me that evening, that you wanted to find another way that was more equitable and fair across the board for all students to be able to get funding and to have all the benefits that every school should have. So, I was wild back then. I'm wild today. I wish I'd be wild tomorrow, but I have something that I just can't get out of. In terms of videotaping, will it be videotaped in any way so I could check it out after?
I believe the advisors that will be down there will be videotaping.
Okay. And
So we can
remember,
certainly share that with you.
Councilman Miller will be down there, so you'll have a friendly face, and I'm sure he's going to peek his head in. So we want to thank you all. And anything else you'd like to say about our process that you've noticed today?
It's very similar to ours. When we have our meetings, we do like the approval of minutes. We do that. It's just a little more serious.
Okay. Well, your stuff is serious because information from you helps us be able to make and change the policies, because we're just in these seats right now. But as Councilwoman Brown stated, some of you will be in these seats later on, and we look forward to that. Just not this election time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Any other one signed in for public comment? All right.
Ms. Walker Brown?
I was at your meeting last week, and I asked you guys about how many team decision-making meetings had Ania's dad been invited to by the caseworker. Now, no one has gotten back with me with a number, and that's from that family-to-family model. It's not the model is the problem, it's the fact that it's not being implemented right. Second, the model calls for caseworkers, social workers, And you guys are using people who aren't social workers, so I can see how we're losing all these kids, because maybe it's about legal licensed social workers could lose their license. I don't know, but at this point, I think we're compromising the safety of the children. Whatever it takes for us to make sure that our children are safe and professionals are handling these cases, we need to do that. Second, the county executive was saying he had an advisory committee and he put them together. First of all, I'd like to know, are we gonna have to pay them for their services? And I hope that we don't have any analogous relationships from them doing this investigation where we look up and they getting some county contracts. Third, I wanna talk about, you talk about transparency. And that's what you guys were put together for, considering that Jimmy DeMore, he went to jail for not being transparent. And I just don't understand how, I came to your meeting last week, I come to your meeting this week, and you tell us that you don't have any dialect with the people. So I want to know, when will you have some meetings where we have some dialect on the issues that we bring to you? Because what good is it for us to come if we're not able to communicate with you guys, or you to give us some answers? And your staff hasn't brought back any facts like I asked. This is the second time I'm coming asking about Ania Day's father. How many of those team decision-making meetings, and the young man that was here earlier talked about those meetings, and the young lady, but nobody has got me the number on how many of those meetings was he invited to?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is there someone else?
Ms. Hills?
Levine, is Joe in here?
Okay, so since this is open public comments, I want to first start by saying I'm only here before this body by the grace of God. I had a court case this morning where they wanted to send me to jail for 55 days for failure to pay child support to a man who they don't have a DNA test on record. I subpoenaed that. I requested many times from the Child Support Enforcement Agency, and the last time I subpoenaed them and the clerk of courts of juvenile court, and I got a phone call from them saying that they don't have it, which I already knew. I've been in the file. Okay, so he never even asked for support until after he got a Medicaid fraud charge. He owes the county over $12,000, and he's free as a bird. No one is bothering him. I have 2 children, the one that the custody case is in question with, and my other daughter and an elderly mother that depend on me. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no equity in the law. And some of these agencies are running amok. And the sad part about it is that you're supposed to be looking at the whole child at these agencies. But with the courts, this matter is heard by this person, this matter is heard by this person. Today I was before someone that has absolutely no history of the case. That man has 3 different case numbers, and he should have 1 judge. Nothing orthodox goes on with this case. But when I too was here the last time, a director from Jane Adna Hunter Building had a William Minch, it's Moench, call me, and because I had questions as to why, I haven't been able to know anything that has went on with my daughter in the cases that have been opened with their agency. And moreover, why are they open in my name when I am not the accuser? He told me via the director that they open cases up in the mother's name because that's just the easiest way to do it. Now, first of all, they took her from me. I'm just getting her back. So it seems to me like if you're going to do it in a family name, it would be the custodial parent's name. So there's a man or a woman, I don't know, out there that did something to my daughter, I don't know, that the case opened and closed, and it doesn't even reflect on that person's name. It reflects on mine. That doesn't make sense to me. That's a policy that needs to be changed. If there is a case, it should be in the name of the person who was accused. And in closing, I just want to say that I'm going to go again and subpoena records because I know that he had the file open of the court case because he mentioned that he was glad that we came to an agreement. And I want to let you all know, like I let him know, that I was ready to fight for all or nothing. My baby begged me to take what was given because she didn't want to be over there. And she felt something was better than nothing. But at the same time, that means that he knows that the magistrate order said that I could see anything from that point on, and he still refused to let me see what the outcome of that case against her father was. He was looking at the case. If he knew that there was a agreed custody agreement, he also knows what that magistrate said in terms of their records and me being privy to them. And he still is in favor of protecting an abuser as opposed to the child. And I just think that these county agencies need to get more children focused in their approach to things, or everything, all of this is in vain. I don't care how much money you put out there. If you don't stay child focused, it's all in vain. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill.
We have one more. Ms. Lou?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Glad to know that I learned something new today. We have a lose-lose-lose situation here. Originally, I came up here, sure, it's also because of the other two ladies and also all the comments on March 27, 2018. All of you were there. However, I had one more example to send in to you. And when I send the links for county council clerks to print out, I got an email from Mr. Nani, but that was already 30 minutes before the meeting saying these cannot be printed out. So I'm not sure if that's because the resolution for the copy paper was passed too late or something. I'm not sure about that part. However, the story here is, after last week, Tuesday, I got this bad news confirmed. This person's name is Marian Johnson. She used to stay in the shelter on Payne Avenue. She has 3 children. But if you can see those articles, you will know. As I think county at a Board of Control meeting, our county medical examiners had more machines. So this Marian Johnson was determined by our medical examiner. She was shot from the back and stabbed to death by her abuser. When she came to the shelter, she was already a domestic violence victim to begin with, but she couldn't get into the safe houses. Also, I'm not sure if she was asked enough questions by the central intake to determine that. However, she stayed in the shelter on Payne Avenue, which is for general purpose. Now, she still found, she left the shelter, yes, but not because she got all the assistance she needed. She was still homeless, wandering around, trying to avoid her abuser. The question includes, how about her 3 children now? She does have siblings. If you read articles, which we don't have them now in front of you, and her brother actually made a statement. So she does have siblings. I believe those siblings will be caring ones to care enough to take care of the niece and nephews. However, we don't know where the 3 children are. Now, here is a problem. Last time I mentioned, the reason right now we have a huge number of youth homeless, 18 to 24, they are the ones aging out of foster care system. How did that happen? You heard other people. All these traumas continues. They started way back, not just recent. However, as I said yesterday, superheroes don't need masks and capes. You are the ones. You are here to face all these traumas, the traumatized people. People in the shelters, they cannot leave because there's no safe place for them to go. Actually, listen to all the cracks by the system, all different offices, departments, agencies. Doesn't matter, it's core, DCFS, and all others, especially homeless system. This is the reason why some people believe governments are producing homeless people, producing mental health patients, and producing people addicted to drugs. Because not everybody can be as strong as that lady and the lady last time we saw, her 6-year-old son taken away from her, that one. If these people cannot be strong, they may fall back to the crack. That means that lady will go back to alcohol. Remember the 1-year-old girl in her arm? She could be taken again for the safety of that little girl, which may not be true. Because look at what happened to her son already. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Madam?
No one else is signed in.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.